In this video tutorial for HeavyAthlete.com, we're going to look at how to create a game as a game director. If you don't have access to this AD dashboard button up in your navigation bar, see our other tutorials for how to become a game director. When we click on this, we have a different view which shows us all of our different athletic director powers. Going to Stripe will obviously take you to Stripe so that you can change any profile information that you need to there. We don't actually store any of your information on Stripe, yet again. This is just a link to Stripe's login page to make it more convenient for you. Any games that you have already created in the Heavy Athlete system can be found up here under Modify a Game. If you have less than 5 games, then it will show all 5 games here. If you have more than 5 games, then you get a search bar, making it much easier to find the game you wish to modify. You can also create a new game from this page, which is what we're going to be looking at today. When you reach the Create Game page, you have a whole bunch of fields in front of you. All of them are important, but most of them are self-explanatory. The first and most important thing you're going to want to do is set a name for your game. I'm just naming mine Test Game because I'm going to delete it afterwards. Then you have 3 options for how you want to configure your game. You have the options of a solo game, a team game, or a mixed game. Solo games, athletes sign up for the game independent of one another. In a team game, one athlete will pay for the entire team, and they will receive an email with links that allow the rest of their teammates to sign up. In mixed mode, you allow people to sign up both as solo competitors or as a team. Best practice, if you have a game that has both solo and teams occurring, you probably want to just make them 2 different games in the Heavy Athlete system, one in solo mode, one in team mode, but the option for mixed is available. If you have things in solo mode, you can safely ignore the number of athletes in a team, as it won't be coming into play here. When you look at the price that a solo athlete pays, this should be pretty self-explanatory. If I set it to 50 here, then the price that the athlete will actually have to give Stripe is $50. You can also see the price breakdown like we discussed in the director onboarding video, and you know exactly who's getting what of all the money that just passed through the site. So should be pretty self-explanatory there. If you're in solo mode, obviously the solo price is what applies. If you're in team mode, obviously this team price is what applies. And they don't really mix. So you need to set both prices, but you can set the one you're not using to 0, to 1,000, to 1,000,000. It doesn't really matter. If you want to be safe, I would just set it to something absurdly high, and nobody's going to pay it, because if something goes wrong, they'll see, wait, I have to pay $500, and they'll be backing out very quickly. The athlete cap feature is by default set to -1. This means that you can support an unlimited number of athletes signing up for your game. If space is at a premium at your venue, then you can set this cap to whatever you want, and no more than the specified number of athletes will be able to join the game. There's one known way to overflow the athlete cap. That happens when the athlete cap is not a multiple of your athletes per team. If somebody is paid, they have the right to show up to your game. So pay attention and make sure that you don't accidentally mess yourself up there. On the right hand side here, we have, does the athlete get a free t-shirt? Many games in our sport offer the athlete a quote unquote free t-shirt. Obviously the price is just baked into the price of admission. If you are offering a free t-shirt to the athlete, change this from no to yes. When you do that, when the athlete signs up through Heavy Athlete, they will be given an option to select the size of t-shirt that they need. Moving on, we have our description box. This is a markdown compatible field just like the athlete bio and the director bio. So you can use markdown to bold, italics, underline, all that sort of formatting stuff in here. You can also use markdown, as we've discussed before, to put images and links and even images with links. To learn markdown, just go to the link in the description. Markdown is an incredibly simple language. You can learn the entire language in under 5 minutes. Now, one of the big features on Heavy Athlete is we broadcast all of our upcoming games in our calendar feature and in our Find Upcoming Games feature. When we broadcast a game there, we use a generic walrus image of our site mascot, and that is the image that you will receive for your game if you opt not to load in an image. To load in a image that will be displayed in our search results, simply put in a link to the image under this logo URL field. For help with getting a image URL, go to our Discord and we have a how-to guide written up there. The last couple of fields are important for athletes actually finding and signing up for your game. The city, state, and country fields help athletes find your game using our Find Upcoming Games feature. Athletes have the ability to set up a radial search from their position to see games that are within 100, 200, however many miles they want from their hometown. If you set your city and state here, then you can be found by athletes using the radial search feature. If you leave them on their default value of none, then athletes will unfortunately not be able to find you. Start date and end date should be relatively self-explanatory. It's simply when does your game actually begin and when does your game actually end. Most games will have these set to the same value, but we do occasionally have 2-day games, so set them appropriately. The other thing that you're really going to want to pay attention to is the open and close registration dates. If an athlete attempts to sign up for the game before your game is open, then they will not be able to sign up. If they attempt to sign up for a game after your registration window closes, they will also not be able to sign up. If you are trying to simply record scores for another game using the Heavy Athlete site, and you have taken care of registration through another means, such as Iron Podium or some other bespoke system that you've come up with yourself, feel free to set the close registration date to sometime in the past, and that will make it so that no athletes can actually sign up for the game via our system. The final thing we want to check before we create our game are these available classes. Each one of these buttons will cause a drop-down to appear. The two classes that you probably want enabled at every game are amateur men and amateur women. When athletes are signing up for a game, they have the ability to choose which class they wish to compete in. We filter which classes are available for athletes to choose based off of their birthday and their gender. Everybody is always allowed to compete in amateur men and amateur women, so checking these two ensures that everybody has a class that they can sign up for. If you also wish to contest lightweight, you can select them under the lightweight category, and if you wish to allow masters athletes, you can see all the different masters classes available here. If you simply choose masters men and masters women, then our system will take care of putting everybody into the correct age brackets for rankings because we know everybody's birthday. The final class off to the left here is the pro classes. We have both pro men and pro women on our site. While you can check these, athletes are incapable of signing up for pro classes directly. This is because you as the game director are the one responsible for adding pro athletes to your game. We don't want just anybody to be able to say they are a pro athlete. So while you can click these to enable them, no athlete can sign up as a pro. The option will simply be hidden from them. Once you have your available classes configured how you want them, go ahead and hit Create Game. If you are taken to a game page, it means you've successfully filled in all of the fields. If you're taken back to the same page, it means that something went wrong and you should double check all of the fields to make sure that you can, in fact, create the game. If you need to modify the game, you'll have the option View Dashboard. By clicking this and then visiting on our left panel here, Update Game Profile, you're taken back to effectively the exact page you just left, and you can tweak everything to your liking. You'll notice that here it says you can register until blah blah blah. That's because I set it up so that we are currently inside the registration window. If you click on this register link, the URL up in your search bar is a link that you can safely share on any social media platforms you want that will redirect athletes to your specific game sign up. If they have not already created an account with Heavy Athlete, it will instead direct them to their sign up and login pages, and when they finish logging in, they will be taken immediately back to your game sign up page. So feel free to share these links in your advertising material. You can also simply share the link found here on your game profile if you want to direct athletes here. Under where it says athletes, as people begin to sign up, you will see, if I go to a different game real quick, you will see the scoreboard for that game. Until athletes actually have scores, it's just a list of athlete names. Once you've updated the scores on Heavy Athlete, obviously, then it functions as a proper scoreboard. The last thing to mention about games is if you go back to the homepage, there are two ways to view upcoming games. First, we have View Calendar, which isn't the prettiest, but you can in fact see my test game on the calendar, and clicking this will take you right back to that game page we were just on. The other option is a better way to see games. This sorts all games in chronological order from the ones that will happen the soonest to the ones that will happen further in the future. You can see my test game is the first one here because it happens very soon. You can also see all other games in the Heavy Athlete system that have already been added. If you wish to replace your walrus generated image with a proper profile picture for your game, simply change that logo URL. If something goes wrong and you still see a walrus, it's because something's gone wrong with that URL. If you can't figure it out, please email us at theheavyathlete@gmail.com or join our Discord, and we would be more than happy to help you get it sorted out.